You are now tuned in to the archives with Adam and Fab. Without further ado, here are your hosts. Welcome back to another episode of the archives with Adam and Fab. We got an amazing guest this time. Man, I'm telling you, I've been so excited about this all week. I cannot contain myself. Today we actually got Matt Hill on. If you guys know Matt, he's played Ed and Eddy, Raphael, and the Ninja Turtles, and some of my other favorites that we're going to jump in this segment. Matt, how you doing?
Oh, my brother, thank you very much for having me on. And I talked to the rest of the guys, and they all said the same thing, saying, "Way to go, fellas! You're doing a great thing on your podcast thing, your show." So I feel very, very excited and honored that you would pick me to be on the show. But for real, man, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it, and it's always great to talk to the folks who are connected on the World Wide Web there.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I think that's so cool that you're in Seattle and I'm up in Vancouver / the island right now. So
yeah, not too far. You ever come out this way?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'll actually be going down to LA in like August. So I'll probably drive this time. So yeah, for sure. So when you go by Seattle, people are like, "Hi, buddy."
For sure. Hopefully one day we can meet, man. I thought that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, man, I grew up watching Ed and Eddy and Ninja Turtles, TMNT, 1, 2, and 3, and obviously those are some of your bigger roles, right? But I want to talk about before acting. I mean, before acting and voice acting, things like that, what were you doing, like growing up? Were there any other special skills, hobbies, talents that you had?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Running has always been my jam, and I'm slow like a turtle. So, but it's funny. It was always the thing that seemed to just like fit me because I loved exploring places. My small town that I lived in, and little place actually on the U.S. border called Tawasin. And so it was the sort of like the classic growing up situation. Where like. My mom left the front door open to our house one day when I was about 3, and she looked around and I was gone. And I'd been a runner ever since. So it was I just loved exploring everywhere on my feet. And then it's funny. I had a very, very early whispering to wanting to be an actor by like watching. Do you remember Donnie and Marie Osmond? You remember that show?
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
The
Partridge Family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so those were two, like, and watching It's a Wonderful Life, same thing, like with our friend Jimmy Stewart. It was like all those sort of like early moments watching these shows, and then like kind of having that whisper to go, man, maybe I could be an actor, maybe I could do it too, and so it's kind of cool because like for some reason, like when I was 13, I thought my life was half over, so I thought, well. You know what? You've wanted to be an actor your whole life, Matt Hill. You better make this dream, come true. And so I did, and got my first agent. And she's like, I remember she's like, you have passion beyond off the charts. You have enthusiasm off the charts. You have no experience. She's like, either I'm delusional or my gut is you got something, kid. My first agent, Dorothy, and thank God she believed in me because like she made me take a course in acting. So, I didn't let her down, while she was believing in me. But, thank God I got a lot better.
There you go. What was your first role? Like, what was the first role that you've ever done?
Like the first professional role? I played Santa's lead elf in the Christmas display downtown, which was like literally about 5 weeks after I finished the first acting course that my agent, Dorothy, had said, I have to take a course. Right. So, because like you said, you have no, like you have, I guess, natural, undeveloped talent. But I had a lot of enthusiasm for the craft, and so, so it was neat. Like for me, knowing early on, not only did I got my first gig about 3 weeks after finishing that course, I really like that performing in front of people really, was like, it sort of, I don't know, it stirred something inside me that just went like, I like this. I want more of this. I'm going to do this, and then Vancouver was becoming like a pretty good like, setting for film and TV and voiceover.
Mhm.
And so it was kind of like the perfect timing because there was enough people to make it a lot of competition, but it wasn't like insanely crazy for someone like me to get in and maybe take like 5 years to even get an audition. You know, my enthusiasm took me into the rooms, and they all said the same thing. They're like, "Wow, you have no credits, but your enthusiasm level's off the charts. So let's give you a shot." And I heard that a lot from directors. They're like, "Man, you're really excited about this, aren't you?" And like, yes, I am. So
Yeah.
I guess enthusiasm can take you a long way, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I've seen that with our emails. You would spell things with the O's with zeros, like pop them out. So I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen that. I've seen that with your emails.
Yeah, you get it. You get it.
Yeah, I
Totally.
get it.
You're
I
one of the
get it
believers, for sure. It's
for sure.
yeah. So I mean, I feel for real just so fortunate that this, I can't believe this career started at, let's say 13, but then now it's like 33 years later. That's what blows my mind.
Mhm.
But then to be able to now talk to guys like you and, talk about the roles and, the things that are still passionate to me. Cause it's funny, those same things are still what fuel my fire and what light me up, to move my body, but at the same time now meet people and, like the getting to go to fan conventions and, that
Mhm.
stuff is like, I mean, like, people saying, when people say like, "Hey, thanks for making my childhood so awesome," and I'm just like, "No, thank you for making my adulthood awesome too," because it's such a win-win situation.
Yeah.
It's yeah, like you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
you know,
No, and that's kind of why we started this segment because like it originally started because we started our channel as like a way for people to enjoy the things that we do, whether that be they come and check out a video to see the experience that we had somewhere before they go and do theirs, or even for people that unfortunately, we're in times where you can't really afford certain things. And,
yeah.
we would like record some of our concert videos and things like that, and so that
Mm,
way people can and go and enjoy those, or we can even go back and enjoy them.
yeah.
So that's kind of how it started. But I was like, let's kind of take it up a notch. Like we have a passion for music, concerts, movies, TVs, and I was like, man, you know what? Let me start reaching out to people, and
Yeah.
here we are. I mean, we
That's
got one of
cool.
our childhood,
Yeah.
greats on. So
That's it. So you're saying that you were a bit of an Ed, and Eddy fan? Did you were a bit of a watcher? You were a viewer?
oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
Awesome.
Cartoon Network,
Yeah.
was probably the best network next to Nickelodeon for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they certainly they did something right. That's for sure. Because I mean, I never thought that. I mean, obviously, being a part of being in acting for so long, it's that's what I feel so cool because then like that once in a while a show like Ed's comes along or
Mhm.
Ninja Turtle franchise and it's like I know them well enough, but yet I wasn't immersed so much in say like the say the fandom side of it
Yeah.
until we did I got to be a part of it, and then I got invited to go in and meet people at conventions and stuff. It was just like off the hook.
Oh
But
yeah.
people just going like, "No, dude, for real! Like, you're like Raphael helped me believe in myself, and Ninja Turtles and the brothers, helped me, think that I could, have a better life because I, was living in a really poverty situation, and I
Mhm.
could live by like my own code, and then Ed's just so lovable that I think that for me is where I feel like the lasting legacy for Ed, Ed and Eddy
Mhm.
is with these characters, and then the gift that I was given, getting to play Ed. It's just like I'm like thank you, thank you, thank you, because there's it's almost like I feel like it kind of matches my personality. It's
Mhm.
like so for me I'm so grateful just to be able to just keep talking to people about it and
Definitely.
oh, have you ever heard of this thing called Cameo?
I have. I
Oh,
have.
okay.
Yeah.
So like that perfect example, the guy who co-founded Cameo reached out to me a couple of years ago, and I
Uh-huh.
thought it was a fake email, right? And he goes for real. Ed, Ed and Eddy was my favorite cartoon growing up. Would you, I thought I would love to get Ed, on our roster, and I almost deleted the email, but then I thought I wonder if it's real. So I emailed him back. He's like, yo, no, I'm not. It's legit. It's legit. So it's been so cool because that same thing I get to, like I get to sing happy birthday to people and, encourage people for, if they're having a tough day or, I've said like, congratulations on getting engaged to people. And,
The Ed voice.
so it makes me realize like Ed is everywhere. It's like everybody needs a little bit of Ed.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we could definitely talk Ninja Turtles and
Sure.
Ed and Eddy all day, right? But
Yeah.
you've had some voice acting in video games, some of my favorites. And the first one I actually want to say is Def Jam Fight for New York. You actually played Clean Cut. You remember that?
That's a wow. That's going back in my memory bank. Good one, dude. That's yeah, I mean that's wow, that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
It
Was that like
was.
is that in the 90s? Or isn't that the 80s?
No, that was definitely 90s. I think
90s?
pushing like 2000s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
but it's like that's the thing. It's like all these genres and it's all being able to say in this case use my voice. That's what I feel is so cool because, it's like as I've gotten older, in some respects my voice has gotten a little younger even. And so it's
Mm.
neat to be able to be asked to still play characters that like I, did like 30 years ago. Because I've never been able to do like the deep, the big, like deep, bass voices and stuff like that. Because I just cough, So it's like, but thank God they like voices like mine. So I'll take it.
Oh yeah.
I
And
keep
your
saying,
voice really fits like a lot of those EA sports games. Like you actually did voicing in NBA Street Volume 2
yeah,
at one
yeah.
point. Were
Wow, thank you.
you I think you were an announcer, right?
That's a good question. I was like,
I remember your voice being in there.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, I remember. Let's see, I know I did a couple of Need for Speed. Did a couple of those, and I did a
Midtown
couple of
Madness.
snowboarding ones. I think.
Uh you were on Midtown Madness. I think I lost you there.
Okay,
Oh yeah, are you
beautiful.
there?
Oh, there you are. He's back. He's back, people. Yep. Hello. Hi, buddy.
Yeah, so you were in Midtown Madness as well as one of the announcers there. And then
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, you played a gnome.
Yeah. God. Yeah. That's that part feels like a whole other life. It's weird, but it's like it's I guess because like I don't actually play video games, but so I didn't ever watch any of them. I mean, were they any good?
Oh no, they were wonderful. Your voice
Oh,
fit every
good.
single one. So
Awesome. Well, there
yeah,
you go. Thank you. I guess I passed the audition, didn't I? I got
you
the
did.
job.
I mean, no, they fit, and
Uh-huh.
you probably might be able to find some of those clips on YouTube. To be
YouTube?
honest,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure.
probably.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's been a cool ride, 100%.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. No, it's
definitely.
a lot of fun things
Oh,
that you've been in. And I do feel bad for like a lot of this younger generation because they don't get to enjoy things like that. Their generation's more like being on their phones and TikTok and things like that. And
yeah,
I mean that's unfortunate because we're sitting here talking about all the fun stuff from the 80s and 90s and
yeah.
all that memory lane stuff. I mean, I've gone and went and done like toy hunting to see what kind of retro toys I could find. And my girlfriend's like, "What are you doing? You're 32 years old, right?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. Like,
Yeah,
stuff
it's
is
like,
nostalgic."
honey, you don't get it.
Exactly.
She's like, I know. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, thank you for watching the shows, right? Because like that's if there wasn't people who tuned in, but I would have never had a career. So so thank you, buddy. I appreciate it very much.
For
It's
sure.
it's like it's really it's humbling because like when I especially when I go and meet people in person,
Mhm.
it it's that interaction that for me absolutely solidifies my my decision to choose to be an actor in the first place.
Mhm.
Because like that I have these beautiful conversations with people that I mean and it's like to me it's like why would somebody BS somebody, right? So that's where for me, it's just always like, it's just a kind of like a notch of confirmation, right? Going like, good job, buddy. You did good. And, like, like fibbing to my mom and dad that I was too sick to go to school on the day that I was going to go meet my first agent. Right. That was my first, Oscar winning performance that day. Like we've all done that. Right. It's just like, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to school today. I don't feel good. Right. And they're like, oh, okay, well, stay home, just rest. The second they were out the door, I was like, the opposite direction where I was, heading off towards the bus and, towards my dream and my destiny, and it was amazing because that's like that. I know that day it changed everything. Right. And, it's like the day where you decided to do the podcast, right? It changed everything because you went like, hey, man, you know what? I really like talking to people from these shows and all these different arenas, right? That are popular for you. And then look what happens, right? In very short order, you've got, how many episodes under your belt, right? And
I think today's going to be our 17th.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, dude. It's actually funny. Today I call it podcast day because I talked to another dude this morning at 10, and he's on the other side of it where I think he started it like 4 years ago, and I think he's on like 178 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So, but you too, son, you will be there very soon too, right? So, that's what I think is so cool because, it's like we all got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
I started at 13, being Santa's lead elf in the Christmas display. And then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, 30 years goes by really fast.
It seems like it. It seems like it. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So growing up, were there any cartoons and things that you thoroughly enjoyed? Because I know you started in quite a few animations that I remember you playing voices in.
Yeah. I mean, I watched. It's funny. I wasn't a huge TV watcher because most of the time, we didn't have cable for a long time. But when I went over, one of my best friends, they had cable, so they got like ABC, they got NBC, and so I got to see like the classic Saturday morning cartoon lineup, like Super Friends and Captain Planet and Mighty Mouse and like all those ones, right? And so I watched, what was it, Josie and the Pussycats? I thought that was cool. I thought their van was cool. I thought Daphne was a babe. Who was the blonde one? Was that Daphne?
I think so.
But but just like it's funny being in Canada. I still felt like the States still felt like, even though it was right next door, like literally from where I lived in Tsawwassen, it still was just, it was like for me this like entertainment mecca, right? That I was like, every time I saw like California, or if I saw Los Angeles, or if I saw something for like Universal Studios or whatever, I'd get excited going like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to be a part of this, and it was cool because it's, I guess in some respects, that's the truth in the journey, right? Because if I hadn't have had that whisper, it wouldn't have happened, right? I would have done something else, right? So it's kind of neat, to now, like, I guess in some respects, what I would tell anybody is just follow your heart. Follow your heart. Follow your heart. If you're confused about what you want to do, just go inside, follow your heart, and don't let anybody else tell you differently, right? Because the more you go towards your dreams, the more dreams you kind of tick off as well, right? And and obviously some things don't work out the way you think they're going to, but they always have a way of working out better than expected, right?
Without a doubt.
Like 100%, right? I mean, I've reached so high for some stuff and failed so miserably. So, in short term, I'm thinking like, way to go, Matt. That was good. But it always has a way of working it. It's, maybe I needed to learn a lesson. Maybe I needed to learn the lesson. Maybe, you know what I mean? It's, I think that's what I'm really enjoying in this sort of like last period of time. Cause, it's allowed me to sort of free myself up a bit to go, okay, well, how can I now share my voice, say like this way, you know, and still be able to meet people as well. And so, you know, it's really, I feel very, very humbled that I'm still being invited to, you know, like go and meet people at conventions and stuff too, right? So,
Oh yeah.
you know, especially now that obviously with the pandemic now, you know, being on the other side of it, the convention scene is a lot more active. So I'm excited to meet people and come to a city near you very soon. You know, so
Definitely.
yeah, man.
Do you have any conventions lined up now that our viewers?
Yeah, I
can go
mean,
check you out?
yeah, I have one in Washington D.C. in August, I think 13th to 15th,
Okay.
and then one in Florida. I think that's like the 24th of August.
Okay.
And then one up here in Canada. So if you have any Canadian listeners, I'm at one in a place called Penticton in October. Okay. So, you know,
Gotcha.
So yeah, man, it's you know, like I say, it's just a really cool way to just still get asked to do stuff, you know.
Yeah, we have a pretty big one here called the Washington State Summer Con.
And cool.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to look it up,
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I actually have a couple of friends coming up your way this weekend for Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, so they'll be up there.
For the rodeo, you're saying?
No, they were just coming up for Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said the rodeo weekend.
No,
rodeos, just the Memorial Day.
Yeah. Memorial weekend they'll be up there just to get out of town.
Welcome to your friends, man. Welcome.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I want to talk Ed and Eddy though with you. Because I know time is ticking, that's for sure. But Ed and Eddy.
Time is ticking like a piece of buttered toast and bent toenail.
I've actually been in talks with Sam Vincent. I know he doesn't do many of these interviews these days, but we'll hopefully get one going. But you know, he played The Voice. What's that?
Sam is a good guy.
You still talk to Sam these days?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, he's he's been. So you're saying, sorry, excuse me. You're saying Sam, you've secured Sam to be on the show, or you're just
not yet
texting, you're emailing.
I messaged him and I heard back. He said right now he's just kind of laying low. He doesn't really do too many. He said check back with me in like a couple months. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, that's good. And you know what? The good thing about Sammy is I like because he's straight up that way.
Yeah.
And you know, so take him at his word. If you reach out in a few months, I bet you he'll just say like, and then just say and tell him that Matt was on and that he said that you have to be on my show too.
Hopefully one day I could get all three of you guys. I think that would be cool too.
Well, you know what's funny? That happened once about 2 years ago. Yeah, one time. We got Tony out of hibernation, and it was the three Eds, and I'll never forget it because it was unbelievable. And unfortunately, Tony said he's one and done. So
really?
Yeah, and I don't think it's funny because I've asked him like a bunch of times because I just had so much fun. So you know, I'm like Tony, come on, man! It's like. It could be me and you and Sam like every week. He's like, Maddie, no, I've moved on. You know,
gotcha.
So it's cool. But that was that was a treat, man, to have the three Eds together because you know I kept doing this. We're like looking at each other, going like, "It's you! Oh my God, it's you! Hey, hi, buddy, hi!" You know, and then Aaron came on, and I think Peter came on for a bit too, and you know, so we had like a sort of like mini, almost everybody reunion. You know. Half the cast at least, you know. So
that's I might have to send him a message. I know you said he's one and done, but I don't know. I might be able to work my magic.
Well, you know
we'll
what?
See.
And you believe in that, man, because that's what I say. I think because you never know. I'm always just like, man, I just believe that when the time is right, it was right that time. So why can't it be right again? Right. So. You know,
and we're used to hearing a lot of no's. Like we get a lot of no's with this, and reaching out to people. But there are people that really do have the love of it and want to share stories. And you told me that from like you know our first initial email. You said I would love to share my 30+ years of experience with your podcast. But I mean, we got a lot of people that are into it for, they want some kind of payment and things like that. And, we really should be paying our our guests. But right now we don't have that budget yet. So,
well, that's, it's the thing, right? And I understand both sides of it, right? It's like, because like I mean, I just feel like it's also a great way to connect with people who are really, really passionate about the work as well.
Exactly.
Exactly. And same thing. I mean, because I've been, it's not my first rodeo with, interviews and stuff. Right. And so there's definitely been a few over the years where I'm like, oh boy, that was really, so, but it was good because then I didn't say yes to everything. Right. So
exactly.
But then,
and that's why we send our links so that way people can, go back and actually listen to a couple, because we like to change that experience and things like that. And that's something I explained to you. I mean, I caught you off guard with the NBA street voice acting, and what is it?
You just see my face. I'm like, did I do that? Okay, I guess I did.
Yeah.
What he said.
So Ed and Eddy, that show growing up was just it's a classic, and it's always going to be. But the Giant Jawbreakers, I tell you, man, that made me have a love for Jawbreakers. Seeing one of those bigger ones, I've always wanted to get them. What was your favorite part of filming though, with the cast and the team?
Recording, you say?
Recording. Sorry.
Just being with that group of humans was such a treat every week that we recorded. I mean, primarily, I think it was only one time where the whole cast recorded one episode together, but it took like 8 hours. So the producers were like, that took way too long. We need both segments to be done in 8 hours. So then they had the half the cast come in the morning, and then the 3 Eds would come in the afternoon. And so that was basically how it worked. So it was really cool, because the 3 Eds, obviously we bonded like there's nobody's business. And also bonded with the rest of the cast more so in terms of just like the banter, between scenes, and, when those guys were leaving from their day of work, we were just coming in. Right. But we'd often, we'd all hang out, and, there was lots of banter and lots of visiting, and, but it was, just to be on the show that I could feel, cause it's funny. I'm not like some actors, watch the news, or they read the industry papers, or they looked at, like obviously when the internet started, they would look at fan pages and stuff like that. I'm so technically challenged. Like if the computer, anyhow, I didn't actually realize how popular the Eds really were, until like maybe year 3, when I went to a convention and it was just me. And it's like, I'll never forget it. Somebody said, "Oh my God, there's Ed!" Right? And I'm like, "Oh, hi everybody!" It's just like, "Oh my God!" And then just being surrounded by people with so much love, And I was like, "Whoa, wow, it's popular," And but when I then did a run around North America in 2008, 2009, and we ran across Canada and then around the perimeter of the U.S. That was the proverbial light bulb moment, where meeting all the kids in schools, where Ed, and Eddy and Raphael, literally hands down, it was a game changer for me, because, because our tour was called Run for One Planet. And so we were running to inspire people to make healthy choices for themselves and for the planet. Okay. Right. And so we came into these schools, and nobody really knew us because, we were just this running tour from Canada. But then when I finally had the courage to say, that I was also Ed or Raphael, it was like a game changer, right? Because the kids were polite, and they were happy that we were there, and, we were funny. But then after a couple of shows where I didn't bring the cartoons into it, we almost got forced into it, because this one school we were at, after about 15 minutes, I'll never forget it, this kid in the back row of the proverbial kid in the back row he was like, this is boring, right? And
Yeah.
my partner Stephanie, who went out on the road with me with this, and she's like, she was so thinking, man, we're gonna get eaten alive by these middle school kids. And she looks at me, and I knew what she was gonna do. And she's like, hey, do you guys know that I get to run with a Ninja Turtle every day? Right? And I was like, oh, okay, I got to bring in Raph. And it was perfect because that same kid goes, oh yeah, well, who is it? Like, Donatello or something like that. And I'm like, no, man, yo, it's Raphael. That's who she gets to run with. And literally this kid that was too cool for school literally turned into a 3-year-old, right? And he was like, you could see that he was going, like, he sounds like Raph. He sounds, and then I busted into Ed, and I was like, oh yeah, and also too, Ed, like, wants to know, do you want to help save the planet, sparkly people? And like this, these middle school kids went bananas, like
So you flipped it around.
insane in the membrane. It was night and day, right? It was, and then we could teach them anything because they were just like, oh my God, you're Ed. And then, it's got us to be able to sort of share the message, but also share it in a way that all these schools felt like they already felt like we knew each other because of this kinship with watching the Ninja Turtles, the kinship with watching Ed, Edd and Eddy, right? And Care Bears as well at the time. It was a really cool, authentic way to be able to share this message as an example, right? And also go in and, honestly, every single day to have like this instant feedback loop of 2,000 plus kids and their teachers, all knowing that there's just this instant connection that it takes it so much deeper, right? And so afterwards, all the kids would line up and they'd want the proverbial, like, Ed, sign my arm, sign my head, and stuff. And these kids would just line up so that we could just have one more little moment together, right? And and I often had like teachers, come up and like give me a full hug and saying like Ninja Turtles helped me, survive a very, very violent childhood. I remember one guy saying that. He was like, Ed, he said watching the Ninja Turtles helped me believe in myself and that I could have something better for my life because the Turtles had this, this code of brothers, right? And he said it with a tear in his eye and saying that like, that's why he ended up choosing to become a teacher. Right. And now he was a school administrator. And so, you know what I mean? It's just like these moments where it's real lives, people's real lives sharing with me that how much they say in this case, the Ninja Turtles or Ed, Edd and Eddy absolutely really helped change their life as well. Right. And so I was, they were like, thank you. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like, because, it's, it just changes it in such a good way. It's like we actually came through, we ran right through Seattle on our last 3 months of our tour. We ran, because we ran right up the west, because we went from Vancouver across Canada to Newfoundland and then down the East Coast, down to Florida, hung a right, went across the bottom of the States, hung a right in California and San Diego, and then came up the West Coast.
That's brutal. That's a long ways.
Yeah, well, 11,000 miles, my friend.
Oh, man, yeah. I can't even imagine.
The website's called runforoneplanet.org.
Runforoneplanet.org. Okay.
Yeah. Check it out, mister. Yeah.
I will. I'll pop it even down in the description below.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. My website's matt-hill.com.
matt-hill.com. Perfect. That's all going to be down in the description below as well. I do have one more question to ask you about Ed, Edd and Eddy. I was kind of curious, how was the audition like? How did you land that role? Were there even any challenges?
No, it was, no challenges. No, they offered it to me. Like, no, I'm just kidding. It was the opposite. Ed, Edd and Eddy set new records also for the number of auditions that we had to do in order to get the part. I think we were up to like I think audition callback number 8. And usually,
Wow.
you know, you might have you have an audition, then you have a callback, and usually you'll know maybe you might have one more callback, and then they'll have like the cast together. Danny was searching for what he knew he needed because everything was in his brain, and he wasn't gonna cast it till he heard every single piece come together. And so, especially for the Eds, right? And so I think, yeah, like I say, it was like probably official callback number 8. I felt like I knew I was getting maybe a little closer because they kept asking me to come back. But then this one particular day, there was less people. So there was like maybe 4 or 5 people play that were, say, going to read for Ed, right? So there was a lot of people, but then it slowly whittled itself down to less and less people until this one day, I think it was me. So it was definitely me, Sam, and Tony, and I think maybe one extra person for each of these characters. And then I think we had a break or something, and I could see that Danny was just so frustrated because he just wanted to, you know, he's like, I just want to cast this thing, right? And I wanted the job. And so literally, I don't know why, but in this split second of like for real not knowing what they wanted. So, you know, I was in the studio and I'm saying the lines, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, excuse me, fellas. And I tapped on the microphone, which you don't do as an actor, right? It makes a really bad noise. The engineer wants to kill you, right? So so I went like tap, tap, tap. And I'm like, excuse me, fellas, how do you get water from this thing here? And I pointed at, you know, the microphone, right? And behind the glass, I could see Danny going, oh my God. And I thought, oh my God, I'm fired. Before I even got hired. He's like, that's Ed. And he's looking at the engineer going, did you record that? Right. And the engineers, and I couldn't hear any of this, right? Because it's behind the glass. I could see. Right. And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm going to get escorted out of the building. And so the engineer goes, yeah, I did record it. You know, and he told me in private going like, don't ever blow on the mic again or I'll kill you. But so Danny said, play him the line. And they played me that mistake. Right. And it was like, don't, fellas, how do you get water from this thing here? Right. Just this completely off center coming from, you know, and Danny was like, that's Ed. Like, do that and you got the part, right? And so thank God they recorded that mistake, because for the first 13 episodes, every time I got out of Ed, that, you know, Danny would be great. He'd be like, he's not getting it. He's not playing the line, playing the thing, right? So they would play that line, you know, and so for 13 episodes, I heard, how do you get water from this thing here? So it's like,
that's awesome.
Thank God mistakes just get you the job of your dreams. You
Definitely.
know?
That's awesome. That's a really fun story.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was neat to be able to, you know, because like I say, you know, then the journey began. You know.
Yeah. Now I definitely want to talk about some Ninja Turtles. I know we got a little bit of time left here.
Yo, let's talk rap. Let's talk, man.
Exactly.
Give it up, brother.
Raphael and TMNT 3. I gotta know, how much time did you spend in that suit? And I mean, nowadays they got fans in there. It was hot, huh?
It was about 80 pounds. When we had full GAC on, it was about 80 pounds altogether. The head weighed about, I can't remember, like maybe 25 pounds, maybe. Wow. I don't know. The backpack, that's where the early animatronics, that's where all the gear was. So we were sort of like back heavy. So it was interesting, you know, the first few days, like doing camera tests and stuff like that, because, you know, we're like, whoa, you know, because you're completely off balance. And we were blind, deaf, and dumb, couldn't see a thing, right? They cut these little holes. They would pull, you know, the mesh down a little bit from the eye sockets so that you could just, like, you know, almost like pencil see something a little bit. You know, I think the very first camera test, all we had to do was, the 4 guys were in the 4 corners of this, you know, where the scepter room was, and we had to just walk to the front and see each other and say, "Yo, cowabunga dudes!" Right? And so we all We all walked over there. I think Mikey hit the door over here. I hit over there. My puppeteer Noel, who was in my ear, who's the puppeteer for Snuffleupagus and
Oh,
Big
really?
Bird. Yeah, and I could hear him going, Matty, go left, Matty, go, Matt, left. So then, I hit the wall, or something like that. So, but very, very interestingly enough, the body gets really used to sort of like this extra layer. So it felt like I felt naked actually without my full turtle gear on after that, and it was so cool. It took about 3 hours to go from completely like sort of street clothes to being full RAF. Maybe not three, maybe two, but but it was neat because you got used to like being this is like my work clothes. It was like it was just I loved it. It was so much fun. I could have kept playing that role. I could have done like till the cows come home. I loved doing that. It was so much
No,
fun. Oh
it
yeah.
was definitely a good movie series. Did you get any memorabilia from that from
I
those
did.
movie
I got
series?
it's funny the all effects, the creature shop that made the suit. On
Uh,
the final day they gave us what did they give us our stunt head because it didn't have any animatronics in it. And so I was like, oh, this is so great. And they gave us our arms, right? Because we had like 5 or 6 sets of our arms. And oh yeah, that's right. And I also had the legs as well. And so when I first I got asked for some reason when I got back to Canada, I got asked to do a ton of summer camps. And
okay.
so it was awesome to, going up and seeing these kids. And, obviously everybody wants to like, put their foot in the Ninja Turtle thing. And so unfortunately that they got trashed like really quickly.
Oh
Um,
man.
Unfortunately, yeah, I'm such a
Yeah.
bit of a, whatever, but I did have the stunt head for about a month until, Golden Harvest sent a letter saying, cease and desist, send it back. It's not yours. And, which is fine
Oh
because that was kind of, nah, that was
yeah.
that was a bit cheap on their end because I think someone told me like they saw like a full Ninja Turtle suit on eBay or whatever, right, a few years ago, and there was
Yeah.
a campaign to try and get me a Raphael one because I guess there was a pretty nice, like I guess was one of my suits, I guess, right? So
Yeah.
but what are you gonna do, right? It's like
That's brutal.
yeah, but Mark Queso, who was Leonardo in all of the three,
Uh
that's what I think is awesome because he was like, I love that because he'd already worked on it 2 times already, so
yeah.
he's like, you know what, guys, I don't care. They could suit. They can basically they can pull it out of my house. They're not taking it. So he brought like the whole suit back to LA and he still has it. I still talk to him this day
Oh man.
and he's and it's awesome, right? Because it's like in that respect having the full suit that way, because it's I guess it's hung up in his living room, so it's a neat memorabilia. It's a great conversation piece on a date. Like
Where's the arms at? You said you had the arms.
I had the arms, yeah, but like I remember they started to get kind of manky because they're foam latex rubber, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'd put them on for a kid, but then I'd always let the kids put them on.
Uh,
And then this one kid put it on a little too vigorously, and I think his fingers popped like right through the front. So yeah,
oh, man.
yeah. What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Yeah, so,
Exactly.
that's it.
Um,
Hmm.
so we got a couple more minutes. I wanted to ask real quick before I let you go. How did you get that role? How did you get that? Because I mean, obviously you weren't in the first two,
Yeah,
but you were in
yeah,
number three. So
yeah.
how did you get
Well,
that?
I was such a cool thing because like that it's like being an actor, you get it's the same thing, you get an audition. My agent called,
Mm,
said there's this show called Ninja Turtles. You're going to be up for Raphael. So I had to learn the scene from the first movie where Casey Jones and Raph are having that massive like
yeah.
that battle, right, where he's like, what yeah what is it, Jose Canseco bat, is that the best you could do, right? And so I had to learn that scene verbatim because in the audition they said they were going to put a paper bag over my head because they needed us to be blind, deaf, and dumb, right? And
Mm,
and so I was like, okay, and I learned the scene, like I knew that scene in like I worked it. I guess I did a good job in the first audition. Then they called me back for a second one. And then on the second one, they asked, did I know how to do a backflip? Right. And, and I was like, I mean, I didn't technically know how to do a backflip, but I knew I could do a kick-ass round off and hopefully make it look good and not kill somebody in the process. So thank God this is where I think serendipity came in because, well, not serendipity, but like, to really help me get the gig. The room that we had the callback in was quite small. And so when the producer said, can you do a backflip? I was like, oh, guys, yeah, I would love to do a backflip for you guys. And I said, but you know what? I don't want to trust myself. I don't want to take your face off, because it was small. It was a short leading runway or whatever. So I just said, hey, how about I give you guys the best round off I can possibly do. And I'll do a little bit of magic or whatever afterwards. And they was like, yeah, do that. And so I did the line, and then, they loved it. Yeah. And so it was perfect. So I trusted it enough that I knew, given if I got the gig, I would be able to train into then being able to do a backflip, and stuff. So, and then the training began when I got the gig. They put me with the guy, his name's Shashir, and he was the stunt. He was the martial arts turtle for Michelangelo.
Okay.
And he lived in Burnaby, right? And so, which is just a town just outside of like where I lived. And so it was great. So they paired us up together, and he kicked my ass for 6 months of training and got me into shape enough to be able to, whenever they kind of called on us to be able to do stuff. I mean, as you know, there's like the world-class martial artists that are those guys, right?
Okay.
That are the turtles. And then they have stunt guys who are the turtles. And then they had us who they called us the talkies, right? Because we had the animatronics in the mouth and stuff like that. So it was really neat, like that, to be a part of, even the way that back in the day they would, they'd fight, these, the big fight scenes. Mm-hmm. And then every time, say, Raphael or Donnie or, Leo would have to say a line, that's when we would be there to then insert the line and then do a punch and a kick and then out. And that's how they ended up cutting it together. Right. So, which I thought was so cool, and I think one day I met somebody, either I was off on my timing, it was probably me. But I felt this kick to my face that, like, to this day, I was like, so, and I hear somebody, underneath, sorry, Raph, sorry, dude. It was one of the martial artists that, got a little overzealous and kicked me in the face.
He's just waiting for that moment.
So, I'm punching air. I'm like, who did that? Where are you? Man. But it's like you say, it's been an incredible ride, man. And, being able to it's just a gift to be able to share as well. So I appreciate that so much because, it's neat to walk down memory lane a little bit and I hope that your fans like it a lot. And, I hope everybody just keeps believing in their dreams for themselves, for their life too. And,
for sure,
how we could contribute and make the world a better place,
Definitely. Yeah. No, I know everybody's going to enjoy this episode. We've posted on like Facebook and Instagram, and we got a lot of people within our demographic, and they're going to enjoy it. So, I do appreciate this.
You bet your sweet Bippy. Awesome.
There we go. I was waiting for that, man. I was going to ask you to do it. That's my friend and I. Can you do it one more time? One more time.
Well, you bet your sweet Bippy. It's time to watch your show, isn't it? All right. So follow these guys and remember, keep kicking your feet towards your dreams, right? And remember, maybe have some butter toast and possibly some gravy too, if you want. Okay. And then hang out with your buddies as well. Okay. Because everybody needs friends and brothers like Ed and Eddy. So you're all part of the family.
There we go. Man, I appreciate it, man. You have a great rest of your night, and thank you so much for this time.
Brother, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for asking. And hope our paths cross again, like I say. And keep me posted on how things go for you.
Sounds good. We'll do.
You're a good man.
All right, you too. Thanks, Matt.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Archives with Adam and Fab. Be sure to follow us on social media and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcast. And most importantly, thank you so much for your continued support. We're having a lot of fun making these episodes, and we hope you guys are enjoying them as well. Stay tuned. We have a lot more exciting content for you guys coming soon.